We are talking law on Radio 97. Do you have a legal question? Then Despina, happy to answer that for you. Just pop it into an email and send it to us. The best way to do that through the website radio97.com.au. You'll find a couple of ways to contact us there. radio97.com.au.
Thank you, Aino. So this segment is in regards to the recent devastating floods, obviously flowed through from Queensland, New South Wales, and it's continuing, unfortunately. But this particular segment is for our Queensland listeners. If your home was damaged by the recent floods, this is a funding project that you should really be listening to. Desi has all the information about the new Resilient Home Fund. Despina, what is all this about?
Yeah, so this has come up quite recently, and there are a lot of people affected by the floods in Queensland. So we are only talking about people in Queensland that were affected by the floods in 2021 and this year in 2022. So this is about the Queensland government launching this Resilient Homes Fund, and they've introduced $741 million in this Resilient Homes Fund. So it sounds quite good. So I thought we'd just run through some features of it. The important thing from today is for people to understand that this has now been launched. It's potentially available because there is eligibility criteria that you've got to meet. So it's potentially available to homeowners whose homes were affected by the floods, and it's going to provide potentially funding for those people who were affected, and there's different funding available. So we want to just run through some of those things for the listeners this morning. So, yep.
So what is some of this money to help for? I mean, what sort of things can you claim for?
So the funding, as I've read in the last couple of days, the funding is going to be available to assist eligible homeowners to repair and retrofit or raise flood affected homes. And in some cases, they're going to offer a buyback scheme as well, but that's going to be determined on a case by case basis. So we don't want listeners out there thinking, oh great, my home is really severely damaged, they can buy it back. So it's going to be on a case by case basis. So like anything with Queensland government schemes and funds, there's going to be an eligibility criteria you've got to meet. And of course there is, as shown on the website, the government website, there is the eligible local government areas throughout Queensland that they say were affected by the floods. And I think looking at this list, it's very long. It's probably got 30 towns or more throughout Queensland.
It's a large area, yeah.
Very large area, starting at Balone Shire Council, all the way through to Rockhampton, Sunshine, Toowoomba, Western Downs. So there's quite a few different areas: Gympie, Ipswich, Carpentaria, quite a few different shire councils. So you want to jump on the website, and if you Google Resilient Homes Fund, it'll all come up. And you can read through the list of areas so you can see, am I in that area? But the most important thing to understand for today is that, yes, they've issued this package. They're going to make funding available. But the first thing is, people might say, oh, great, am I going to get funding? Am I eligible? What you've got to do to find that out is you've got to register your interest. That's step one. Yeah. So you've got to jump on and register your interest. Without registering your interest, you've got no chance at seeing if you're eligible to fit into the fund. And that eligibility will also entail, for example, a home assessment and a home assessment report. So you've got to register your interest. You can actually jump on to see for yourself initially if you might fall into the eligibility criteria. So you can do a little test, and then they've got to do a home assessment and a home assessment report. And then if you pass all of that, then there's other steps that have got to happen. For example, you've got to get quotes for works, and then you might be notified of the funding approval, and then you enter into a funding agreement with Queensland Government. So there's quite a few steps to get to it, but the first step is you've got to register your interest. So at the end of this, we want to give people the information to be able to email the Queensland Government or ring them, and they can look at that themselves. But I thought, just to put it in perspective, there are a couple of examples that they've actually given on their website that might help homeowners understand more about the Resilient Homes Fund, whether or not that will. But I'd like to read out maybe one or two of these examples. So they say they're not real world examples. They're not examples that have happened in real life. They're just using it as a guide. So we might just mention one of them. So the first example, they've said, look, Shane. So Shane's recently renovated a 4-bedroom home. He was inundated with 0.5 metre of water through all livable areas. So he's got private home insurance with flood cover. So his home assessment report identifies the several resilient strategies that could occur in addition to the $60,000 repair his insurance will cover. So the resilience retrofit works are estimated to cost an additional $10,000. So he may be eligible for the $10,000 funding. So that's just one example of how it might work. There are other examples where you might be eligible for $55,000 or $100,000. So it's going to depend on a case-by-case basis. And if you do have home insurance, so if you had actually flood cover at the time that the home was damaged or flooded, then that may change a few things, and you've obviously got to disclose that at the time. So that's really important. But look, it's there. The government's done the right thing, it would seem. They've issued this package, and there's eligibility and funding potentially available to a lot of homeowners that were affected by the Queensland floods. So they are doing the right thing, it seems. You just got to jump through quite a few hoops to see if you'll get that funding.
Persistent with the application, but it is $741 million package in total. So it's a lot of money there if you do need it. If you're interested and your home was affected by the floods and you live in Queensland, you can email Resilient Homes Fund directly. The email is resilienthomes, one word, at epw.qld.gov.au. Or if you're not on the internet, you can call them 13Q Gov, which is 137468. Thank you so much again, Despina. And if anyone does want to get in touch with you directly about anything to do with the law, where can they go?
Yes, they can phone 55291 294, or they can email info@prialalegal.com.au. And of course, all these segments will be uploaded on YouTube again. And in this particular one about the funding, I will say, if you do have a computer and you've got the internet, go and Google Resilient Homes Fund, because there's a lot of information here you can read on the internet, and there's a Q&A and there's a fact sheet. So there's a lot of things that you can sit down in your own private time and work out if you're eligible.
Yep, good idea. Worthwhile checking that out. Resilient Homes Fund is what you're looking for if you Google that. We'll see you next week, Despina.
Great. See you then, guys.
Thanks, Desi.